everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Interstellar Modeler. This is now part 3 of my Moebius Galactica build. I am now moving on to the engines. Okay, so you no doubt recognize the lower half of the engine housing here, and then we have the exhaust ports here. And what I'm going to do is light this up with LEDs. So I'm going to take the same approach I did with my Viper and use flickering LEDs. I purchased these from modeltrainssoftware.com. I have 4 cool white flickering LEDs here. I know the package says 3, but there are 4. And then I have 1 red flickering LED because this center exhaust port is supposed to glow red. Now we're going to want our LEDs to align properly in here, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use this styrene piece of plastic that I've cut out to fit into this section. What I did earlier was I put this piece into place with the styrene plastic piece taped into position there, and then I, with a pen, was able to mark little dots here where I would need the lights positioned, and I drilled them out with a Dremel. So you can see when everything is put into place here, the lights should shine properly through the exhaust ports. Now also provided is a clear piece that will fit over this. I will be frosting that over in order to add some light diffusion there. And I'll be doing more if I have to. It all depends on how it looks, because I want to avoid any hot spots as you look at the ship from the rear. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here we have the engine lights set up. Let me just show you what we're looking at now. This is the styrene piece of plastic. It has now been mounted to these poles that you see here. And when I did a light test earlier, sure enough, they are shining fairly bright, so they were creating those hot spots that I was talking about. This is the engine panel here with the clear piece attached now. The clear piece has been coated with a dull coat. So the dull coat in and of itself is not quite enough to give us the light diffusion that we're looking for, so I decided to add wax paper. This essentially is just 2 pieces of wax paper that have been folded over, so it gives us 4 layers of wax paper that the lights have to shine through, and sure enough they do a good job diffusing that light. Going back to the engine panel here, you can see the middle section has been coated with Tamiya's clear red. That's because that middle exhaust port is supposed to glow red. I've seen other guys also coat the other engines with blue, but I'm already using a cool white for these LEDs that I've chosen, and I think that's going to be blue enough. I think it'd be a little bit overkill if I painted those blue. Another quick note here is I was originally going to install a red flickering LED in the center, but when I did a light test earlier with that in place, it didn't quite look right to me, so I decided to just replace it with the clear one that you see here and paint the center exhaust port red. And the other thing I wanted to mention here is that with light diffusion, you obviously have 2 choices here. You could move the panel backwards. Obviously that's going to spread the light around. Or you can do what I'm doing here, and that's to add something that's going to cloud it over, if you will. I decided to do it this way because the further I move that out, it just didn't look quite as intense, and I want the engines to look intense. So I decided to go this route, and you'll see in just a second here how things are looking. So let me go ahead and put this together, and let's do a quick light test. Alright, and you can see how the effect is looking pretty good here. The flickering effect is exactly what I was looking for, and you can see how the wax paper is doing a decent job at getting rid of a lot of those hot spots there, and yet we still have the intensity that we're looking for. Okay, so now it's time to move on to the landing base. Let me just kind of quickly go over the game plan here. The landing bays will each have an LED, and the LEDs will then be wired up and connected to the rest of the ship via this flight connector assembly that you see here. So they'll be fed through and guided through to the middle section here where they'll join up with the rest of the wiring. So let's spend a minute to talk about the interior of the landing bay. The box is printed on each side with a copy of this map painting that you see here. So this, of course, is the view that we get as we look down the landing bay that we used to see on the TV show, and you're supposed to cut it out along the white outline and place it into the landing bay as you see here. Now the problem with this that I see is that it's printed on a cardboard stock, and so it would be hard to light this from behind. So what I decided to do was to print it on photo paper. So what I took was matte photo paper. This is a 6x4 sheet. I scanned this picture into my computer and then printed it using Photoshop onto this photo paper. And I printed myself extra copies just in case I make a mistake. And I've already tested one of these here. As you can see, it's in place here. Now this is not the final version because I'm going to reattach this and retape it, but I wanted to kind of see how this would all work. So essentially what I have here are 2 tabs of masking tape that are placed at the bottom that holds the matte painting in place there, but the light would shine through if I didn't light block it, so that's why you see this black paint along the bottom here. And I did test this already. I placed an LED on the top portion of the landing bay, shined it through, and it seemed to work pretty well. So I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and piece this together, and then I will show you how this all works. Now before I do that, let me point out a couple other details here. As you can see, the side of the landing bay has been painted black, and the reason I did that was because I went ahead and drilled out the launch tubes on this side piece here. And that's just to give it a little bit more depth. I thought it would be better to do that versus just painting them black, and that'll be placed against here, and it gives it a little bit more depth. Alright everyone, so now we have the 2 landing bays put together, and I apologize, I was supposed to take a little bit more video as I put these things together here, but I got carried away, and next you know, here they are. So really there wasn't much else to it other than putting the LED into place. I glued it about right here, and it's facing the matte painting, which I secured into place with those pieces of tape and canopy glue. And I also painted the floor black a bit here just to give a bit more light blocking, but that was pretty much it, and then I just pieced it together. You can see here the launch tubes that were drilled out, and of course the front section here has been put together. So yeah, it's looking pretty good here. So let me go ahead and hook this up to a power source so that I can show you the interior of the landing bay. Okay, so let's take a second to look at this here, and you can see it looks pretty good. The matte painting is nicely lit here from behind, and getting a pretty decent shot here. The camera is kind of bleaching things out a little bit here, overexposing it, but you can see the effect here, and I think it looks pretty nice. Alright, I tell you what guys, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this video here. It's getting a little long, so I'm going to go ahead and finish up on another video. And so I hope you're enjoying this build, and I will see you in the next one. As always, I thank you very much for watching.